all parts of the globe. TV news viewers became almost immune to images of death and destruction. But nothing could prepare them for what was about to happen on Boxing Day 2004. That Christmas, Keith Lister and his fiancée Frances travelled to Sri Lanka to get married after a whirlwind romance.
The moment I set eyes on Keith, I knew that was it. I mean, even now, if I think about his name, I get butterflies and I get that stupid 16-year-old grin on my face. It was just perfect.
Early on Boxing Day morning, Keith went down to the hotel pool while Frances relaxed upstairs. Everything seemed normal until...
Didn't really know what it was, didn't have any idea what it was really. Then I've seen the sea coming back in, hit the bar, and the water started coming over the top of the bar. I thought, hang on a minute, that's not just normal tide.
Up in their room, Frances feared that Keith had been killed by the onrushing water.
I was just thinking to myself, I'm never going to see him again.
She rushed down to the ground floor, searching frantically for her husband.
I couldn't see anything, couldn't see Keith, because there was just too much. People were just screaming, people were hurt. And I couldn't see him. And then I saw Keith, and I burst into tears. It was just the pure fact that he was still alive. And I just turned around and ran back upstairs again.
Keith followed Frances up to their room. The tsunami continued to batter the hotel.
I was really worried about the hotel could get washed away because the foundations, we didn't know how they'd been set up. The speed of the water was amazing. Like the whole village was being washed out to sea because you could see it just come past the gates.
Frances started thinking about her young son, who'd flown back to the UK with the rest of their family after the wedding.
I just wanted Bradley to know that wherever I was, if anything happened to me, that I would love him forever and that I would be with him no matter where I was.
Expecting the hotel to be swept away at any moment, she recorded a farewell message.
Mummy loves you, Bradley, with all her heart. And all my family. I love you. It made me feel better letting Bradley know that Mum is always going to be there for him.
But an hour later, the water began to subside. The hotel had remained intact. The worst was over for them, but the extent of the horror elsewhere was only just becoming clear. Sri Lanka was just one of 14 countries in the Pacific whose coastlines were overwhelmed by the giant waves.
They call it a tsunami, a terrifying wave, in this case some 30 feet high. It was triggered by the world's biggest earthquake in almost half a century, and it tore into coastlines around southern Asia. More lethal waves quickly followed the first. People fled in panic, but for many there was no time to escape.
The tsunami had killed more than 230,000 people. It was one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history.
All around is the overwhelming sight of nature's destructive power. The fury of the sea didn't spare a single family here.
British tourist Brett Hughes was on holiday in Thailand, staying in an inland hotel near Patong. He was totally unaware of the disaster until he drove down to the beach later that morning.
I started to see all this debris that was cars upside down. The scale of it was just unimaginable. And looking at people's faces, you know, they were just staring into nothing. Just couldn't work out what the next step was, how they was going to rebuild their lives. I did really feel so sorry for them. I really did.
The devastation Brett filmed was typical of what had happened all along that coastline.
Having been through that experience, it's just scary how life can just end so quick, just like in the blink of an eye. It's made me aware of how precious life is.
A decade later, and Brett, Keith and Francis have come to University College in London, a British centre for tsunami research. Scientist Tristan Robinson wants to hear their eyewitness account of what happened in 2004.
Nice to meet you, Bob.
Nice to meet you.
We were in Sri Lanka.
You was in Sri Lanka?
We were in Sri Lanka when I hit. Where were you?
Thailand I was in.
Did you find it surreal when you were taping it? Like, was it real or was it just...
it just never sunk in. It just couldn't grasp the situation, what was going on around you.
When you first got back, did you see in the news headlines? Did that really knock you out? Because it knocked us out. How many people had actually died was unbelievable.
It's shocking, and the number kept going up week by week.
When the tsunami hit, many locals rushed to nearby houses for protection. One of the reasons for the high death toll was those structures being unable to withstand the force of the water. Scientists are working on ways to avoid a repeat in the future.
On this photograph here, you very much see that the reinforced buildings, which are mainly the hotels and the big buildings here, have not sustained too much damage. However, the smaller buildings are washed away.
That's incredible, isn't it?
I can't believe he was there in the middle of it, can you? It's just shocking.
Too surreal, isn't it, really, when you see pictures like this, and we were there.
Tristan has asked to see the images that Keith and Brett captured during the disaster.
This is my footage. It was shot about 6 hours after the tsunami hit. We were just coming down the main beach road, and all these, what you can see on the right there, are all hotels and shops.
It's amazing how they've managed to clear the roads after only 6 hours since the event, allowing the emergency crew to do their work.
Brett's footage provides a unique record of the tsunami's impact on that part of the Thailand coast.
Look at this roof there, and we can actually see the damage, and that gives us an indication of where the highest point of the water was.
Keith's video shows how the tides came in and out several times before finally subsiding.
This was taken about 8:30 in the morning. The sea was right out to start with.
It went out to the beach.
Right out.
But it seems
right
to come in higher.
Really interesting that it receded so much.
Yeah,
I'd have thought it would just come.
It goes right out, and there's people walking right out to it.
I find this footage very interesting. So would it be possible to bring copies of them, please?
Sure.
Tristan and his team will analyze Brett and Keith's videos. They may provide valuable data for their research.
Hopefully our footage will help in the future for redesigning buildings and hopefully saving lives.